trying to cut thicker metal, everything is a little more critical. It's not that it's any harder to cut, but rather that if you mess up, it's a whole lot more difficult to fix. Definitely use the right tip size and gas pressures, clean the metal, and have a good cut line. You want to have the torch head straight up and down in both directions. And sometimes I'll even have someone watch from this direction to make sure I don't tip the torch out and make the cut at an angle. You don't need to get the whole side red hot, just the top edge. Then rotate the tip back a little to catch the corner, push the cutting jet lever, rotate the tip straight up and down again, and start moving. This is 1.25" metal using a #1 tip with 5 pounds acetylene and 40 pounds oxygen. You want to go slow enough so the cutting jet has time to go all the way through. Too slow is better than too fast. You might have some slag stick to the metal, but that's a whole lot better than losing the cut. The thicker the metal, the more you need to take your time and be ready. You'll be a lot happier with yourself if you do it right the first time. When you're cutting thinner gauge metals, the problem you run into is that the metal gets so hot from the preheat flames that the slag sticks in the kerf and kind of welds the metal back together. If you're using a 0.0 tip, you can make a pretty good cut, but more often than not, these cuts are made with a tip that's too big. Try holding the torch at a steep angle in the direction of the cut and go fast. Keep moving. If you hesitate at all, the metal will glue itself back together. Now, anytime you put heat to gauge metals, they will warp, especially on larger pieces. If this will affect the project you're working on, you can have the pieces sheared to size. All the cuts we've made so far have been in the flat position. If you're cutting across or horizontally, everything works about the same. For a vertical cut, you can either cut uphill or downhill. On thinner metal, you get a nicer cut traveling down because the heat's rising and you're cutting into cooler metal. On thicker metals, I like to cut up because the metal's being preheated a little. Also, if the slag isn't blowing clear, it's running down on the backside and you're cutting up into clean metal. One of the biggest factors in determining whether you cut up or down will be where you can position yourself to see the cut line. To help in making straight cuts, you can use a straight edge. And there are a lot of different styles of homemade or shop-made straight edges. This is a piece of 1-inch pipe welded to a vice grip. You can clamp it on a piece of flat bar, rest the tip against the pipe, and make the cut. A straight edge helps hold the torch steady and lets you concentrate more on a smooth travel speed. I like to use a piece of 1-inch pipe with a 1/2-inch round stock handle. It's easy to move around and good for awkward cutting positions. This one does take a little getting used to because you only get to hold the torch with one hand. This is a magnetic brass straight edge for cutting plate. Magnets hold it in place along the cut line and you can make longer cuts without stopping.